So, Richard, I don't think this podcast would be a good starting point to listen to information about William Burroughs if we didn't talk immediately about Steely Dan, the name of the band, named after a steampunk, steam-powered dildo from Naked Lunch, which most people don't know is where the name Steely Dan comes from, but now you did. Can't unknow it, huh, Adam?
That sentence makes me feel like I'm still watching Naked Lunch. I'm just desperately trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. I am so unbelievably curious, both sexually and in a podcast audio form, to learn what your thoughts are on this, Richard, because on this episode of the Kulturecast, I am still your host, Chris Stachiw, much to the chagrin of two people out there at least. And if you know who you are, you can, and I'm saying this politely, go fuck yourself. This is my show.
You're talking about me and my wife, right?
Yeah, you can go fuck yourselves. No. And if you know who you are, then you know. And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, then you're probably here to listen to us talk about Naked Lunch, a movie that we were going to talk about in April, but we ran out of time because life and other things got in the way, called life. And then I went on a cruise, on a Disney cruise out of San Diego. So that takes up time to go on. So we're now here ready to talk about a movie that I can only assume if you've never read the book, you're really going to have a hard time with, because yes, on this episode of the Kulturecast, this addendum episode, we're talking about the film based on the book of the same name. Both of those films, and both the film and the book share the same name, Naked Lunch.
When I wrote Naked Lunch, reviewers just couldn't say enough. Disgusting, they whined, un-American trash. Well, now Hollywood has turned it into a movie and critics are chattering again.
The movie mind-blower of the year, Spellbinding. A stunningly surreal tour de force.
Thought you were finished with doing weird stuff.
I thought I was too, but I guess I'm not.
David Cronenberg's Naked Lunch, rated R.
I heard that it wasn't really based on the book. It was sort of based on his life, but sort of based on the book, but sort of like a very free adaptation is what I heard.
That's yes. The correct term is there's no way to adapt a book where they talk about steam-powered dildos, at least not in 1991. I mean,
I don't see why not.
Fair. They do a lot. They do a lot. They do a lot more than you would think. But at the same time, this is also like post-Hellraiser, post-Possession, post-films that are already pushing the envelope in terms of, and even David Cronenberg, like visually off-putting films that have body horror were not unheard of at this point. In 1959, when the original book is being published, it's a very different story. But yeah, this book, I would say, is more or less unadaptable, and the film has a lot and a little both at the same time to do with the original book. The book is cut up, free prose. It's William S. Burroughs kind of at his best, and if you don't like him, worst. I mean, he is not for everybody. And this movie, I think, is a extension of his writing. I am a fan of William S. Burroughs, just to get it out of the way here. He's one of my favorite authors. So this is why I wanted to watch this movie, because I had never watched it, but I had watched all the other stuff. So I had seen the documentaries, the two documentaries that have come out, or I think there might even be more than that, but the two main ones, and then read the book, listened to the book even. And yeah, it's a thing, so it's very much its own thing. So, Richard, I'm going to kick it to you first, given that you were kind of shanghaied into this. However, I will say, as a creative type, I think this movie is very interesting. What did you think of Naked Lunch, and what is your exposure to William S. Burroughs?
No exposure whatsoever. Have not read him. I'm aware of him, but
Which is crazy to me, by the way.
Yeah. Well, but part of it is there's a subculture in literature and film that is about mind-altering substances. And Burroughs is part of that. And there are others. Because I've never been deeply into that culture in real life. I've never been on, psychedelics. I'm not, same reason I didn't go see all the Cheech and Chong movies. I felt unqualified. I felt like I'm missing a key element that I'm going to need to really enjoy a Cheech and Chong movie. I'm not into pot.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. Cheech and Chong movies are still funny. You like Blazing Saddles, right?
Yeah, well, I like Blazing Saddles.
That's a stoner Western.
But it's not a stoner Western. I mean Cheech and Chong.
The title of the movie is in reference to marijuana.
That may be, but the content of the film is like the whole thing about, and there's like I said, a whole subculture, sub-genre of, if you really like to get high, there are entire albums that are based on, you need to listen to this on weed, or you need to listen to this on LSD or something. And that stuff, it announces itself and lets you know whether you're 100% invited to the party. And by the way, it's like going to a party. It's like, if I'm going to a party where the whole point of the party is we're all going to blaze up and be high, and I'm not going to do that, then I'm going to be missing out on a certain aspect of that party, probably the biggest aspect. So that's my whole approach to this stuff. It may be really, really super interesting if it's like, oh yes, I know what it feels like to be on hallucinogens or on psychedelic drugs. I know that feeling of paranoia. I know that feeling of weird, amped up, but tamped down sexuality, and seeing things and not knowing exactly if they are existing in physical reality, or is that the one piece that doesn't fit? And why does the one piece that doesn't fit feel like it's the one that makes the most sense? All of that stuff is fascinating to me, but since I've never been there, I always feel a little bit 1 foot in, 1 foot out in these sorts of narratives. So that's where I come to the movie from. That being said, I didn't hate it. I didn't get it.
You just did the like live thing where it's like, I go up at the end, which means I'm lying. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it.
You know, I started out, I started out hoping that Cullen Gallagher was going to be on this podcast, so I could just sit back and see whatever he said.
Send for the man. All right.
Is there a way can we text him right now? Maybe get him on Zoom really quick.
Cullen, where are you? Richard needs help.
I thought for sure there'd be a Father Malone, there'd be a somebody, and I could just sort of be like the third point of something, because I'm like, I do not have a ton to say about this movie. Like, I didn't even hate it enough to have that sort of energy that I brought to RV.
Fair.
So I went into this movie totally like, I don't know, it's Cronenberg. I have liked a lot of Cronenberg. There are familiar actors in it, so I was interested. I was not like, oh boy, I'm going to hate this. I was interested, and I don't think I ever got to the point where I hated it, but I did get to that point that I feel in a lot of these kinds of movies where I'm just like, okay, everyone at the party is high, and old Richie had him sitting here on the couch looking at his watch. So that's kind of that's my broad experience. What about you? Like, you read the book, you love this guy.
Yeah.
So what was your whole thing?
I mean,
and what I'm asking is, have you done psychedelic?
So no, I have not. I've done marijuanas, as they say.
Okay.
As the kids would say. I've done only weed, and that's it. And that's, I mean, kind of where I'm not saying where I try to draw the line, but I'd want to do a psychedelic that I'm in the room with someone who also has done it before to feel comfortable, as opposed to just like, I'm going to do LSD by myself. Like, again, that's also a huge jump.
Yeah.
I think anything would be like mushrooms at this point, and that's probably it. William S. Burroughs, however, is using like heroin and like, really heavy stuff. Like he's
so
not.
He's a heroin guy, right?
Yeah. He's really going for it, man. Like this is not like I'm smoking dope. Like he's like, nah, I'm shooting this shit up, man. He was like a morphine and a heroin addict. So, like
heroin, does that stuff give you hallucinations? I guess it does. I don't know. It does it? Or does it just make you really like out of it?
I've never done heroin, but I
wish there was somewhere to get information about drugs.
To do said drugs, and then we'll know.
Just nothing ever gets written about. No one ever talks about it. Right. I don't know how I'm supposed to know.
They do the drugs, and then all of a sudden they disappear.
This guy at the end of my block, his brother, maybe I'll ask him.
Yeah, I've seen him walking around with some needles. I think for the most part with Burroughs, in my mind anyways, I get it, Richard. Like, I get the like, this is kind of like whacked out fucking psychedelic bullshit. Like, I agree. However, what if that is the point? And there is no subtext, and it's just like, I'm writing wild shit because I'm writing wild shit. What do you say? What say you, Adam? What say you to Roy Scheider pulling off a woman's skin? Like, what say you? Like, what if it's just weird? What if it's just weird? And I'm just saying, like, and like, as you said, Burroughs has some, there's a lot of gay. That's the other thing. The nails don't lie, baby. There's a lot of gay with Burroughs. I mean, his most recent film adaptation was Queer. I mean, that was an adaptation of his unfinished manuscript, Queer, the film that has Daniel Craig in it. It has kind of psychedelia as well in it, but it's a pretty straightforward narrative. But it's also gay. And this movie is kind of gay. I mean, it's gayish. It's not. Well,
it's like I totally get it. It's the. I don't know, but you could say, I don't know if William S. Burroughs was out, in 1959 or whatever. I don't know if he was just like, yes, I am totally comfortable with this aspect of my personality. There's absolutely no connection between the fact that I have homosexual urges or am a homosexual and am doing heroin and having very difficult heterosexual relationships where I murder my girlfriend. It's like, why do all the heroin addicts murder their girlfriends? From Burroughs to Sid Vicious. It's like, don't date a guy who's doing heroin, ladies. You're gonna get murdered.
But what about a man who's doing mugwumpjism?
Well, now look, I think I just froze.
Mugwumpjism. I just like the term mugwumpjism.
I mean, look, I could sit here in 2025 and go, okay, Burroughs was a guy struggling with his sexuality, so he addressed those bad feelings or whatever those feelings were, if it was just frustration or guilt or, whatever he felt society had in store for him. And so that led to drug use, or the two went hand in hand somehow. But he was also trying to be an artist, which means that he's already starting from a liminal space. And you put all these things together and mix them up, and you could get someone who's going to be a very surreal, an artist who makes surreal stuff. I don't know. I'm not articulating myself very well. Since I don't have anywhere, there's no door for me to walk through with William Burroughs.
What about the door of self-mythologizing?
Well, and being a writer, I guess that's a door.
That's why you're here, Adam, is because you're a writer. And the self-mythologizing of it all. I mean, you're actively engaged in that and what you do for a podcast.
Look, my computer does not turn into a cockroach or a vagina or a penis, as it does for Peter Weller in Naked Lunch.
But literalism and figuratism are the tools of a writer.
Yeah, I don't. Yes, the writers self-mythologize. I definitely self-mythologize.
Right.
My podcast.
And literally, who does that other than writers, really?
Well, filmmakers.
Still storytellers.
Musicians.
Storytellers, okay?
Yeah,
cool.
Any artist.
Yeah, so artists. So artists self-mythologize.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, how many doors do you have for Burroughs?
The gay door. That's the back door. That's the back door, as they would say.
Chris Stachiw story.
Yeah, the gay door. Back door, gay door. The gay, I mean, again, as a creative type, obviously like yourself. And also, I mean, there's part of it is, the gay pre-post, right? Because like there's part of the gay with William S. Burroughs that's like the closet gay. And then there's the William S. Burroughs that's like the post-closet gay. And those are two very different things because some people never get past the first. And you could make the case, and I'm not making this case because I don't want to marginalize anyone as best I can. You could make the case that someone who is in the closet, kind of hard. Like it's the same argument that's made against someone who's bisexual. Like, well, you're with a girl. Like, how could I've literally had somebody go, well, you were married. How were you gay? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what?
Hey, just because I said that, Chris.
Richard, that was not you.
Public consumption.
That was not you, Adam. It was not you. But my point being, when we sit and talk about the queer aspect of Burroughs. Like, I think it really comes through in this movie because in a lot of ways, like, this movie is about a man at odds with himself, whatever that means. In Burroughs's case, you could take it down several roads as the man at odds with himself as a creative type, or as a man at odds with himself and the idea that a man who is gay is less of a man than someone who is not gay. And that's part of the message of the mugwumps is like, you have to be suitable to being gay. And it's like, what the fuck? But again, the idea of like being amenable or suitable to something somehow makes you a compromiser possibly, which makes you inherently the one who's lesser.
Yeah. And by cloaking it in a sort of drug narrative, he allows himself to go places that he probably couldn't if he wasn't writing in that. It's like, okay, so the guy gets whacked out on drugs. Therefore, if now he's having weird, quote unquote, weird sexual urges, there's some cover. And so that makes it presentable to the reading public that, oh, well, but all this stuff is he's having a drug trip. So he's not really gay. He's not really talking to cockroaches. He didn't really kill his girlfriend. Whatever
he didn't catch the bug.
Yeah.
The bug image. I mean, the bug image, the amount of just like bug imagery and the usage of the term bug and like, especially at this point in like 1991, again,
we can all go write our college paper on this, you know? I mean, that'd be easier than watching the movie again, is just saying,
memories
here's what
of
everything
Naked
meant.
Lunch.
I mean, guy, kills off his female sexual interest, goes to the interzone where, homosexuality is more above board in this place. And then basically has weird sexual encounters with men and women and just sort of descends further and further into a paranoid place. He's not a very, okay, so I mean, I don't know, maybe we should talk about the movie and talk about Peter Weller, who is fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, he carries the movie over the line with like how much of a straight man he is at all times. And again, like Burroughs is that way, like, he doesn't do the Burroughs affectation. He doesn't do the Dr. Benway shit, which like, I'm glad he's not doing an impersonation because there is that like Dr. Benway. That's who I would do. But Burroughs was doing that voice a lot, but I'm glad he doesn't go there because it's very much an evocation of Burroughs, not like an impersonation, which would have gotten very old. It's grounded in reality because in a lot of ways, what this really should remind both of us of is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Because it's Burroughs, but it's not Burroughs. Like, just like it's Hunter S. Thompson, but it's not Hunter S. Thompson. Like, it is, but it isn't. Same thing here.
And I mean, talk about self-mythologizing. Yeah, that's actually a great and the most pertinent, comparison. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's so strange because I don't typically think of Peter Weller as like my, my safe, trusted narrator to bring me through. I mean, he's not Tom Hanks. It's not like, oh, as long as Peter Weller's in the movie, I can just sit back and enjoy myself. He's not that kind of actor. And yet, in this, he becomes that. Somehow, whatever his
It's the juxtaposition against how wild everything else is.
Yeah, it's like if you make everything else fucking crazy, suddenly Peter Weller is like, oh, I'll go talk to this guy.
But to your point, Burroughs was always interested in writing unreliable narrators. So if you have a guy whose perception, to your point, is an unreliable narrator because I don't trust him, you've already won of a subconscious battle that Burroughs always was doing, which was a unreliable narrator at the heart of the story. So you've got a guy who's the actor version of that.
But he never seems, he is never glib. He is never cruising through. He's always got that. He's always peering at everything and everyone in that Peter Weller way that is just enough of his own questioning of like, what's happening to me right now? And I'm going to participate in it, but I'm not fully signing off on the reality of anything.
Right.
That draws us in because that's how we feel. And for the most part, he's reacting to the stuff on screen the way we are. He is not loving the bugs. And we're not loving the bugs. And when he takes off his shoe and smashes a bug, there's a part of us that's like, yeah, that, I know that's not going to solve your problem, but I think that is probably how I would react. That's my impulse. And so for better or worse, we can follow him through. And there are moments where he seems just completely overcome. There's just too much happening. And he crumples in on himself and tears are flowing down his face. And we respond to that because we're like, yes, there's a part of the viewing experience that also feels like that feels like it's too much. I can't take it anymore. But by giving him those moments and the way he portrays them, that's what kept me in this movie as long as it did. That's what made me feel like, okay, I'm not going to check out on this thing.
Testament to the man. I have a poster of him right here for a reason. Peter Weller he carries so many of the things that he's in. And this this really is one of them. Like this movie could have been played in such a really not unfun way, but Peter Weller, I think, works again. Like, I'm not sure. I mean, look, we don't get a lot of William S. Burroughs adaptations for a reason, because I think this is kind of it. Like, do you need anything else other than this? I don't. And to your point, Naked Lunch is the book that you see being written in the movie. Nothing like that's the whole weird fucking thing that this has that Fear and Loathing also has, which is the creation of the narrative by way of watching the narrative happen to the artist who's going to adapt the things he's seeing into a book, I guess. We haven't seen it a lot of times. It's only been done a handful of times, which is why it doesn't feel tired, thankfully, because this could feel really tired. It hasn't been done a whole lot. And I think it hasn't been done a whole lot because for the most part, if you buy the rights to something, you're going to adapt it. Like everybody, I think, for the longest time talked about how Lord of the Rings was unadaptable. It's unadaptable in a different reason, for like a different way. It's too broad of a property. Yeah. This is because what the narrative is so amorphous and fucking bizarre that it is prose. It is loosely threaded together prose is really what it feels like. Like there's a plot, sort of, but again, Burroughs was known for doing cut-ups and just taking things and making things work and using other people's literature as a starting point for his own stuff and cutting things out. And again, like how were you expected to adapt that? But Cronenberg, to his testament, makes it work way better than anybody could ever make it work. That's the only way to do this, as far as I'm concerned. Unless you want to do like a cartoon or some sort of like animated thing where you just have like things happening and it's a more of a vibe, less of a plot driven kind of event or thing to enjoy. I don't know.
I mean, my question is, why was this movie even made? Which is always my question. But it was clearly during a time when there was, the process of getting a studio film made was, we need material.
Right.
Okay. We need tons of material. We're going to develop tons of material, but we're only going to actually make 10% of it. We're just going to keep throwing material at writers and writers at material and directors at writers and directors at material and hope that the pieces fall into place and suddenly we have something that can look like a movie. Hey, Burroughs is a known writer, so maybe there's a movie in there somewhere. Who has the Burroughs stuff? Cronenberg had some juice. He'd made The Fly, he'd made Dead Zone, he'd made Dead Ringers. And so it was like, okay, well, this is a reliable director. People do go to his movies. He can deliver a movie. He's not crazy. So maybe this makes sense. I mean, my God, it's a beautiful movie. I mean, they spent money on this. I don't know how much, but I'm sure someone said, well, for a price, we'll do this because we know it's not going to be a hit. And it wasn't.
$18 million, brother. This looks like a more than an $18 million testament to the director and the writer-director. Because that's the only way this movie could have gotten made, is the person who wrote it has to be the person to direct it. And to answer your question, Kubrick tried to work on a version of the movie with Brian Geeson's script, who worked with Kubrick, or who worked with Burroughs a lot. They did a lot of the cut-up stuff together. And so it was actually Cronenberg who wanted to make an adaptation of Naked Lunch. And that's not surprising. And, again, Cronenberg as a adapter of Burroughs' work also doesn't just adapt Naked Lunch, he adapts other things. I mean, there's parts of other things in this, like stuff from Junkie,
Right.
like stuff from Queer, like stuff from Burroughs' real life. Like, again, we're talking about the murder shooting, I guess, of his real life partner, his common law wife, which actually happened, doesn't happen twice. Obviously, he doesn't get the opportunity to kill her again. It's used as a film device, as a narrative device, but a lot of the movie's just based on William S. Burroughs' life. Like, again, similarly to Fear and Loathing, like it's based loosely on the real life of someone who this character is loosely based on already.
Right. And if anyone's going to do it, Cronenberg, clearly, I mean, there's, from the body horror to the, dark, repressed sexuality, I mean, all of that, like that.
Especially 91 Cronenberg. Like, this is like Cronenberg post Videodrome and, like you said, post The Fly. Like, I mean, this is very similar to Videodrome. It has that, like, similar, like, again, like the repressed nature of things. And like, there's always something lurking off to the corner, in the corner of the room. You just can't see it. You may not be able to perceive it, but it's there. Like, there's a lot of that going on here too. Again, like we have the veil of the drugs in this movie. In Videodrome, it's the TV. In this movie, it's the typewriter and I guess the bug powder initially.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of fun actually going into this movie not knowing anything. And other than, okay, this is going to be weird. And there's a typewriter. It's like, fine, and yes, I guess, like you said earlier, the door I can walk through is the writer door, but writing for me has never been that kind of experience necessarily. I don't know what writing was for Burroughs. I mean, it was probably one of the few ways he could broadcast himself in a way that felt authentic, even though he wasn't detailing or drawing direct lines. It wasn't he wasn't writing autobiography. He was writing these sort of dreamlike narratives that were autobiographical, but in the only way he could really approach it. And I'm not saying that given the opportunity, he would have written a very literal autobiography. He may not have. He may have preferred.
He kind of did. He kind of did with Junkie and Queer. I mean, they're kind of the same book, but they're also kind of about, again, Bill Lee. Bud, like, we know who Bill Lee is, William S. Burroughs.
Let me ask you, I mean, was this like, when did were these later books or?
So Junkie comes out before this. Queer is technically an unfinished manuscript. So this is his hit. I mean, this is the thing that makes him mentioned in the same, like, sentences as Kerouac and Ginsberg. Like,
because look,
that's this. Everything else is kind of like not unimportant, but like Naked Lunch is the thing that is the vehicle through which most people know anything with Burroughs.
Right. And here's the thing. It resonates because Burroughs isn't the only guy who's struggling with his homosexuality, struggling with addiction, struggling with paranoia and other emotional, challenges. And that's why these books, even though they're subcultures and sort of subgenres, continue to live and are popular because people find them. The people who need them find them. And it speaks to them in the way it's supposed to. It's like there are people who read Naked Lunch and they're like, yeah, I totally get this. I have no problem with this. There are people who see the movie and go, yeah, I'm there. Emotionally, I'm there. I get it. And then there are people who simply do not. And they're on the outside, kind of like me, going, what am I missing? Like, I see all the pieces, but I'm not seeing the assembled puzzle, because the pieces just represent aspects of a personality that have to be experienced from the inside. It can't be experienced from the outside, not fully.
Well, I would again implore you once again to understand the idea of the cut up, which I think is why some of this feels so disparate, because the cut up is taking someone else's literature and just repurposing it. And if you're
so wait, now what exactly you because you've mentioned it a few times, but what exactly is this?
So this so cut ups are what kind of Burroughs is known for. And so he would take imagine you take I'm just trying to think of an easy story to use, like the Three Little Pigs, right? The story Three Little Pigs. We could find a version of it pretty easily. Imagine if I gave that to you and said, Richard, in 1 hour, you have to take Three Little Pigs, cut it apart however you like, put it back together in some fashion that could be seen as entertaining or something. do something creative with the text of Three Little Pigs. That is Burroughs, that's an aspect of Burroughs' writing. And Naked Lunch is part and parcel of that. It's not all that, but part of it is just like taking other people's stuff and turning it into his own thing.
But is he literally like taking passages from other novels and they are appearing word for word?
Again, word for word is an interesting phrase. If you're taking them and turning the order of the words around, sometimes it's word for word. Sometimes he's doing the order of words. I mean, like
I assume he's being very upfront. Like, it's like, oh, this is from Shakespeare, or this is from Moby Dick, or this is from, Charles Dickens or whatever.
Kind of.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe I should take a look. I mean,
you should. It's again, like it speaks to what you're talking about in terms of the disparate nature of things. Like sometimes you're just like, where is this coming from? And it's like, oh, right. Like, imagine newspaper clippings, but like go further. You know what I mean? Like, don't just clip it out of the newspaper, then clip it further and do something with the newspaper clippings. It's experimental writing. Like Burroughs is known for his experimental writing. And then he has other stuff like Cities of Red Night are, again, like that's more of a book. Like there's a plot, there's a narrative. Like it's not all this. This is just really what is the entry point and what most people are known for is Naked Lunch, which is cut-ups in experimental writing. But there are other books that are like books. He has several trilogies of books that are more narrative-based even, that still use cut-ups in those too, mind you.
What would you say the equivalent technique was to represent that in the movie, or was there?
I don't know if you can do that in the movie, right? Like
you could.
But I think in this day and age, like, isn't that what we just have in terms of like a movie like Ready Player One just has all these other things jammed into it? Like, I don't know how you do it in film.
Right.
I guess you have the dialogue. I mean,
unless you're
something else.
Somehow literally just cutting things in, but I don't know.
But then it's like not obvious. Again, it's a matter of how obvious are you with what you're doing. Like
look, the movie was well reviewed. People were not saying this is a total fucking mess. I don't get it. Go fuck yourself. I mean, everyone, because you can't when it's Burroughs and sort of Cronenberg, and up front what it's going to be, you can't use that as an argument.
No.
You can't say I didn't like Friday the 13th because it was bloody.
Because it's a slasher movie.
Right?
Like, yeah, I don't like slashers. Well, you're not going to like this. Like,
right. That's
100%.
That's the one thing you can't complain about Cheech and Chong by saying, well, it's a fucking stoner movie. A bunch of people just acting stoned. It's like, well, yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
So now that you understand that if you're in a Mexican restaurant, you'll be eating Mexican food.
And if you order the chicken nuggets, they're probably not going to be great.
Right. That's the buy-in. The buy-in is this isn't going to make sense. And it's going to be ooky.
You talk about this all the time, meeting the movie at its level. You have to meet the movie at its level, like meet it at the level that it wants to meet you at. And if you refuse, if you can't even do that, if you're unwilling to meet the movie at its level, you probably shouldn't watch the movie to begin with. Like there are some people that are going to go their entire lives without seeing Naked Lunch, and that's perfectly fine. It's not for everybody. But if you're willing to meet the movie where it's asking you to meet it, I think you can enjoy it. Again, like this is not a movie I would suggest to everybody. If I would suggest it to anybody, the only people I would suggest it to are people that, like, when I talk to them about it, like, oh, I really want to watch that. I'd be like, then you should. Because I think someone who has an interest in watching it is priority further, the dial's further in their direction than someone like yourself who's been shanghaied into watching it.
Well, the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey.
You don't feel like you're in on the joke with that movie either, huh?
I've never seen it.
Oh, fun. We should watch that together, dude. That's a good one.
Now, the reason I've never seen it is because half the people say it is a towering achievement. It's one of the greatest films ever made. And then the other half of the people are sort of like, yeah, it's like 2001. Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, wait a second.
You're friends with the wrong kind of people.
Is it a movie that doesn't make sense or that doesn't satisfy on a narrative level? Or is it a movie that absolutely does?
You want my answer? Yes.
Well, yeah, sure. Okay, you're right. Good. I mean, and
yes, it's both. It is at the same. It is both a massive achievement and it is massively disappointing because it's you know what 2001 reminds me of? It reminds me of going to a Michelin star restaurant and then being like, that's it. It's like, but the point was like the execution is part of it. Like the mastery and the execution, the technical prowess and the execution is part of it. Like
I want to I want to know enough that I can bring the right mindset to a movie so that I'm not blindsided. Because there are times when your expectations of what a movie is or what you think it's going to be is so far off for some reason. And then you go see it and you're like, I hated it.
Right.
And then later, having lived through the realization of what the movie actually is and your own disappointment, that if you ever go back to it, you're going back to it with a complete opposite point of view, which is now I have all the information I didn't have before. I know what it is. And now, instead of being really excited with the wrong expectations, my expectations could not be lower because my last experience with this movie was terrible. And typically when that happens, a person goes, oh, but on second viewing, it was actually much better. And I actually saw what other people said about the movie or whatever that thing is. So yes, expectation has a lot to do with it, you know, what what you want from it. So in the case of Naked Lunch, I think I knew what it was going to be, and it was. My only problem was that isn't something I typically want from a movie.
Right.
Again, I mean, I found a lot to enjoy. I found that I loved the music, Howard Shore's score.
Hell yeah.
Right?
But I mean, hey, Cronenberg and Howard Shore go together like peanut butter and jelly. I mean, his score for The Fly is amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, of course, I enjoy The Fly on a completely different level than this movie. I mean, the Fly is like, oh, this is
about the bug, baby.
It's about the bug, but it's like it's locked into a very traditional narrative, a super traditional genre execution. So it's like, okay, I'm just sitting back eating popcorn and enjoying a movie with characters that I understand and relationships that I understand, even though it's science fiction. Great. This, I was sort of like, okay, I'm eating the best version of food I don't care for. So I will politely finish my meal and go home and not be a schmuck.
Wow.
So that's what I ate for lunch.
And a big old naked lunch.
Naked lunch.
I was eating a whole bowl of ass earlier today.
I mean, it's like, how do you know? Here's the problem with a movie like this. How do you evaluate certain things? It's like Judy Davis. I'm going to say her performance was great, but I don't really know if it was. Ian Holm.
There is no baseline. Yeah, there's no baseline.
Great. You know, Julian Sands. Sure. Like what? How do you direct a movie like this? That's the other thing. How do you act a movie like this? How do you know when you're nailing it? How do you know when Cronenberg goes, cut, that's perfect? Like, what is he thinking and how would he possibly communicate it unless everyone on set is a huge Naked Lunch fan and understands it and appreciates it in exactly the same way, which frankly, I don't think people do. I think a book like that, look, a book like The Shining, everyone enjoys it the same way. A book like Naked Lunch, I don't know. The people probably like it for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah. I mean, it is pretty erotic.
You know? Yes, it is.
Yeah, Richard's is like, yeah, I believe.
Not in a way that gives me a boner. Not that kind of erotic, but it's erotic.
It's erotic, all right. It puts the E in erotic. Obviously I had my concerns picking this movie for us to watch. And my concern is the one that you kind of have alluded to and talked about several times now, which is I almost didn't want to have someone who's a Burroughs fan on here because what's it going to be? Like just two guys being like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, this is great.
Well, but it probably should have been because then who's going to listen to this is going to be I listen. All I do is listen to podcasts about Naked Lunch.
Well, yeah. Well, hold on a second. I don't know what to say about that. So that's a different story.
From one to the next.
Yeah, I guess so. Please stay on this one for more than just one episode on Naked Lunch, please. No, I don't want to sit in an echo chamber of people just saying, yeah, this is great. Like, and again, like, it's not a matter if it's good or bad. Like, in a lot of ways, I'm not sure anybody in this day and age is going to go out of their way. Like, how do people even make decisions on watching things anymore, Richard? I don't even know. Like, I couldn't even fucking tell you. Like,
I think it is the way it always has been, which is there are the super predator consumers, the mega consumers,
the whales.
Yeah, the people who watch everything. The friend of yours who has seen everything, knows all the music, knows all the movies, knows all the shows.
Get all the Marvel trivia right. all 30 questions. Give me the medal already.
But they love everything. I mean, if they love Marvel, they also love, everything else that is.
I'm glad. I thought you were going to make an opportunity to make like a really all blue joke. If they love Marvel, they probably also love, children. Continue.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. Greg, what's his name? Greg Kira?
Who?
Greg, who's the guy Greg, what's his name? Who made the movie? Who made that movie?
Brian, or are you talking about Brian Singer?
No, oh God. Okay, cut all this out.
Cut this all out.
Now it's just people going, no, it's that guy
who's the kid diddler again?
Let me move off. Okay, forget it.
The Catholic Church, Richard? What did you say?
My point being, the mega consumer watches everything and then enthusiastically recommends things. And
discerning or no?
Yes, discerning.
Okay.
Has a taste that you understand. The friend who you understand, it's like, I know what they like, I know what they recommend, and they're usually right. And so they'll just go, oh, you got to see this. And it can be Barbie, it can be Fast and the Furious. But if that person is also like, oh, but this other, Severance is also great. Based on that, you'll do it. Like my son, Dashiell, I think is a person who has people like that in his life, and then he consumes things. But I don't think Dashiell is a person who consumes things that have not run through someone else's process first.
Right.
It would have no meaning for him. He's very into his friends. And so he's not going to be the one going, I am the pioneer who went out into the artistic, frontier and I'm bringing back what you might enjoy. Here are my wares.
Right.
So
he's not his dad.
No, yeah. And I was sort of that way, but I wasn't the biggest, influencer. I mean, I don't know why I'm not just saying it. Influencers.
I think you were though.
Right.
You were, but you weren't, but you were. Like I think anybody doing something like this in this day and age has to at least give themselves a little credit for enjoying things enough for people to listen or at least trust, right? Because it's a trust thing.
Okay, but see, now we're doing it. That's what we're doing. People who listen to your show because you cover a lot of current stuff will go, Naked Lunch. Oh, I think I've heard of that. My dad watched that or something. And then they might listen. So
I was conceived to that.
This is how people find things now. Those people may not be their friends, but those people have podcasts or TikTok feeds or Instagrams or YouTube.
Call it a parasocial relationship.
Exactly. And they stake their territory and they say, we're going to do a, YouTube podcast, whatever, about, geeky genre films, science fiction, horror, all that kind of stuff. Hey, I love that stuff. I'll check them out. And then maybe they mention a movie you've never heard of, so you go check it out.
Right.
That's how people find Naked Lunch now. Okay. That's because that's the only way you can. And it's still a little bit self-directed because you choose the podcasts you're listening to.
True.
But beyond that, people who need Naked Lunch are going to find it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I can think of two things wrong with that title. That's the gag from The Simpsons about Naked Lunch when Bart and all them go see it. I can think of at least two things wrong with that title, which I think probably would be the problem I would run into with most people if I suggested Naked Lunch to them, is there's not enough nakedness and there's definitely no lunch eating, at least not of the food variety. This is something, not to get meta in the creation of the podcast world, but given that we're talking about Naked Lunch, maybe it's a tad apropos to get a little meta. I mean, one would even ask, how do I pick the movies that we do these goddamn episodes on? Like, how do you pick the movies? I gave you an opportunity last year to program an entire month and you just went, I want to do Christmas movies. I guarantee you if I give you another month, you'll pick something else.
It's coming up.
Yeah, and that's my point. But that's my point. Like when you look at things like this, it does take a little bit of I want to give it to the people that have opinions on things that I trust, but also opinions on things that are going to maybe push me to watch things I wouldn't watch otherwise. And that's again a different thing that some people have no interest in as creators. Some creators don't want to grow collaboratively. They want to grow singularly, which is also perfectly fine. I'm not sure that singular growth is what's the word? Realistic in the long term or fun. I find this to be a lot. I mean, there's some people that are like, I only want to do this and I want to do this and I want to control this and this is my thing. I'm like, I get it. I'm not
most people look.
I'm not interested.
people who do those sorts of podcasts, I'm one of them, are people who are like, I have a take on this, bunch of stuff. And I would like to explain my take to you. Like the guy, Andrew Hickey, who does the history of rock music in, 500 songs. He's not engaged in conversation with anyone. He's like, this week I'm talking about, I'm using this track to talk about the Rolling Stones or the Beach Boys or whatever. And so, and I kind of do the same thing. Most people don't. Most people do it like this in a conversation form. But the other thing is, I've watched so many movies for this podcast.
But also this is the 100%. What you're talking about is doing 100% of the work. This is 50% of the work here. Even if it's not 50% of the time work, like me and you doing an episode together is 50% of the work because I show up 100% prepared knowing that I'll be contributing 50% of the conversation.
Right, exactly. And also, and we're not, it's not a film history podcast.
No.
I don't think
this is a film appreciation podcast, right?
No, but you
critical analysis. I don't know.
You're not doing 5 minutes on. Okay, here's the studio that released it. Here's the year. Here are the other movies.
You don't even say star ratings or anything. Like we gave that up. I gave that up. I think before I met you. Like I don't even want to be engaged in that kind of bullshit. Like
Like if you want that information, you can go on IMDb and you can or Wikipedia and very quickly sort of contextualize the film. And now you're just hearing people talk about the experience of watching it. 99 times out of 100, my approach to anything that we have watched is from a structuralist point of view and from a writer point of view. And I will judge a movie in that way. And I'll say, I think this movie works really well because it is structured well and written well.
Right.
And then acted and directed well, but that all serves the narrative. And if I do not like a movie, it's typically because I can see what they were trying to do and I can see where they failed. So if the movie is a comedy, but it's not funny enough, here's probably why it's not that funny. Here's probably where it fell down. Or if this is supposed to be a thriller and it's not that thrilling, here's why. That I can do. This, of course, I was never going to do that. I was never going to come to this movie and go, this is a terrible movie because it makes no narrative sense. Because, of course, that was never the point.
It makes no narrative sense. Yeah.
Right.
So you don't drink alcohol and not expect to get drunk. Like I don't.
Yeah, and I'm not a complete fucking idiot. I do try to come to things and not only understand what it is they're trying to do, but also acknowledge my ability to appreciate it or even evaluate it. Remember that movie we did? This is one of my favorite ones. It was called The Handmaiden or The Maiden or something. It was
the Korean film.
Yeah, what was that called?
I think it was like The Handmaid's Tale or The Handmaid.
It wasn't The Handmaid's Tale.
No, but something like that, right? But it was close, right?
Right. And it was about, it was the Korean movie, and it was about the young woman going to work in the house, and then it was about sexual abuse, and then it was about
The Handmaiden is just what it was called.
Handmaiden. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
From 2016 by Park Chan-wook. Two white guys are just floundering around.
Well, it's about this erotic relationship between these two women in Korea in another 100 years ago, like there was no cultural.
And it was based on like a British book as well, like a Welsh book,
right.
And they turned it from a Japanese, like a Welsh thing, to a Japanese thing. So we really didn't have any frame of reference. Like,
I mean, we really, and yet it was a great movie, and I think everyone who was talking about it got it and appreciated it for what it was. But I remember there was that point where I'm like, well, now 4 white guys are going to talk about this. This movie, and it's like, but we came at it as film lovers and people with cultural sensitivities and interests in naked women. Oh God, see that I did it.
Yeah, he did it.
But it was one of those where I'm like, God, do I have any, like, how do I even begin talking about this? And yet I think that was a good episode. I think we kind of nailed it.
I would agree with you.
I don't know how I feel about this episode. Are you even going to release this? Or
I am going to release this. I think what's interesting, Richard, is self-mythologizing is something that you are like engaged, like we're all engaged in. But like when I think of like successful self-mythologizing, you come to mind. You put your name on your show. Like your name is,
What a fucking douchebag.
Oh, what a fucking tool this guy is. Am I right or
fuck?
Someone who has a lot of confidence in their ability to be entertaining, because as far as I'm concerned, if I go listen to his show and I don't know who he is before I clicked on it, if I know who he is by the end of the show and I'm willing to listen to the next episode, that's a success. And you're pretty successful.
It's like, look, you can call yourself Prince, or you can call yourself the artist formerly known as Prince, if first you Prince.
Yeah, you can get away with whatever you want as long as people acknowledge you as Prince. As long as people acknowledge you as...
And then do whatever the fuck you want, but I'm not Prince.
When your nickname is so good, you force the other guy who's not as good as you to make a nickname not as good as yours, which is... Who was Prince? He was the Prince of Pop. Why did Michael Jackson then have to be the King of Pop? Because Prince had already taken the title. So, okay, bye. I think, the ability to self-mythologize and really pretend. I mean, look, like William S. Burroughs shot and killed the woman that he was living with.
Right.
I mean,
which always feels like, look.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Yes.
But he's mythologizing it into, but it's bad. Here's the thing.
Chris, I'm not going to argue.
Argue with me, Adam. What's crazy is he uses it as the self-mythologizing inflection point for his entire life.
Yeah. Which is in a really crass way.
Yeah.
It's like, I never would have become a writer if I hadn't murdered my girlfriend. It's like, oh, well, thank God. Thank God you murdered her, or we wouldn't have, Naked Lunch, Junkie, and Queer. I'm not really mocking him. Look.
But he's kind of mocking himself in a way.
I don't know. And it's like, and I'm not one of these guys who's going to spend, I love the Sex Pistols. I'm not going to spend 10 seconds trying to explain or defend Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen and their relationship and what really happened to her. I don't know, but if a junkie accidentally murders someone, no one is surprised. That's what happens. It's terrible, but it's not shocking. It's like, oh, okay, so what it sounds like is Burroughs was completely wasted on something, and then something happened, and then someone's dead, and that's a fucking tragedy. It's horrible. Clearly this guy was a tortured soul, and writing was one of the ways he tried to self-medicate.
Well, that and the drugs.
Oh, well, that's another good way of self-medicate.
And that's why we're comedians. Me and you, Richard Haddam. The comedic timing is priceless.
All right.
To speak to the craft of the movie, what did you think of, outside of Peter Weller, everybody else, including the so obvious Ginsberg and Kerouac stand-ins?
Oh, is that who those two guys
are? Those guys are supposed to be. Yeah, I'm assuming it was very obvious by the Ginsberg one. The Kerouac one was also kind of obvious, I felt like. Two very anachronistic, all three anachronistic looking fellows,
From the moment the movie started, from the opening credits, the level of artistic, devotion, the aesthetic of the movie, I loved it. I was totally drawn in. The movie is photographed beautifully. I love the costumes. I love the sets. I love the colors. I mean, there was so much visually that I loved about this, and so much that you want to sink into and relax into, but you can't. And if that was intentional, it's genius. Because you do want to embrace this luscious, sumptuous color palette and textures and performances. But the minute you do, there's a cockroach or a centipede or a creature crawling out or oozing out of a typewriter and scuttling across the floor. And then the revulsion, the physical revulsion is there.
I think there's
a very well made movie.
I think there's honestly two other people that could have made this film. We've talked about Terry Gilliam already with Fear and Loathing. I would float that maybe in an alternate universe, David Lynch made something, Naked Lunch, and made something out of Naked Lunch. That would require, again, it requires the person involved to have the interest in making it. And David Lynch, for the most part, only ever seemed interested in making his own things, which I completely understand. But man, would it have been something to have him adapt Naked Lunch? Because Cronenberg's adaptation's wild, and it's very wild in a specific way. But I wonder if David Lynch's Naked Lunch would have just been just insane. Like, I mean, Eraserhead and all the, because you think of, when I think of like a director who sometimes directs about seeing the weird shit at the peripheries, but not in front of you. Blue Velvet, Lost Highway, both David Lynch joints. Like, those are things that I think of. Like, and again, like Naked Lunch, if it's a pure adaptation of Naked Lunch, he might have been able to do that. I mean, again, Cronenberg nobody could adapt it straightforward, which is what the statement always was. I mean, maybe David Lynch could have, I don't know. Again, like a tall order all the way around.
And then if it was today, if it was like, this is going to happen in 2025, maybe a guy like Guillermo del Toro.
Or Luca Guadagnino.
Yeah.
The guy who did the Suspiria remake, which is like, again, pretty, I mean, he's doing the remake of American Psycho. Like, he seems open to doing, I mean, I guess Naked Lunch is genre fare. I mean, I think it fits for people into genre fare. But I mean, I think it's, again, kind of its own thing.
Here's what's funny though. Like the I would say the homosexuality subplot weirdly was the most dated.
Right.
That was the one that felt like, that is being treated as such a taboo that yes, in 91, sure, but certainly in 2025, that just doesn't feel like something that would be treated in the way that it was treated in this film, which is like, what's this all about, and why, how is this a part of this guy's internal struggle?
Well, and that's why I would say anyone who sat and listened to this episode, to bring this full circle, and I would think, Richard, maybe if you're interested on going on a further journey on your own, if you're interested in furthering your William S. Burroughs appreciation, but having to go, I think, less esoteric than this movie is, go check out Queer from this past year. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino, stars Daniel Craig. Pretty straightforward movie. I mean, it takes a lot of the themes of Naked Lunch and the homosexual aspect of it, and really it's just more about that. There is some kind of esoterica, but it's very light esoterica. That's, I think, more acceptable for a wider group of people, which I think,
All right. Yeah. No, I that's so weird that I don't know that I've even heard of this.
Yeah. It came out last year. It has Daniel Craig in it, and Daniel Craig is great. He's doing an evocation, not an impersonation. And again, it's a fine movie. I think for most people, it's more approachable than Naked Lunch. And, it's eminently more findable. I think it's easier to find it because I think it's like on most, if not all of the made, like Apple and all those things have access to rent or watch it. So it's pretty good. And it has Daniel Craig. So most people are amenable to Daniel Craig because of, the James Bond connection. There are going to be less and less people every year that go, Peter Weller, you mean RoboCop and Buckaroo Banzai?
Well, I mean, it's funny. What are the other Peter Weller movies that are like, you should see this? Peter Weller is the star of this.
Buckaroo Banzai and RoboCop.
But those were all before this. Like,
I know.
Were there no signature performances past this? I kind of feel like I'd like to see what he did after these three.
He was in Dexter.
But he
was in Star Trek Into Darkness.
Oh boy.
He was in, I don't know. I think Peter Weller's biggest performance.
Shouldn't he have been in 30 movies?
I mean, he was in a fair amount of things, but I don't think that they were ever just looking over the list, and none of it is the order. Jumping. The Order. I saw that movie. That's a Heath Ledger movie where he plays like a Catholic priest. That was kind of fun. None of these are really
fun.
Yeah, right. None of these are particularly, he was on a season of Dexter. He did a lot of TV for a while. He directed a lot of stuff. He went to college and became I want to say a PhD in ancient Roman art or something. He's Dr. Peter Weller. He's like Dr. Peter Weller now.
Did you see the RoboCop documentary? It's a 4-part documentary.
Hell yeah.
About RoboCop.
Is it, how many hours are each part? Are each part at least 2 hours long?
An hour plus.
Okay, cool. So it's pretty long then.
Yeah, it's pretty long. And you would not I like it and respect RoboCop, but I wouldn't put it in my, it's like, oh my God, that is a seminal movie for me. But that I was still interested. I wanted to watch the documentary, and it's been years since I've seen the original RoboCop, and it's the best. You've got to watch it.
Peter Weller is a weird cat. He has a PhD from UCLA in Italian Renaissance art history.
Good for you know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. You know what? He doesn't have to do what I want. He should do what he wants.
Exactly. And you know what? He used acting as a platform to become a PhD in Italian Renaissance art. What the fuck?
Right, because you can't get into that program unless you've headlined a couple of. You got to be number one on the call.
Unless you've been RoboCop.
Right. They're not going to let just any stupid kid from the Midwest. It's like, well, can we check out your IMDb?
Yeah, right. Show me your CV. You were RoboCop? You imagine that dissertation defense? We're correct. Wait a sec. Peter,
He's
like RoboCop.
Him, Vin Diesel.
I just want to see the face on the people he had to defend his
Tony
dissertation
Todd
to.
Was in there. It's like, you've got to have some sort of film cred.
Right.
It can,
I guarantee you when they looked at, they were like, we're just going to let him through because he's RoboCop. We don't want to be known as the people that when he came up with his dissertation, they turned RoboCop away, right? I mean, it seems like a double-edged sword here. Like, can you imagine Peter Weller being like, well, this fucking group of PhDs, they really didn't want me to have my PhD. I think it was because I was RoboCop. Like,
Mr. Weller, you're late to class again.
Yeah. This doesn't have anything to do with the RoboCop of it all, does it? No, never. Not at all. Oh, God. It's because he played William S. Burroughs. That must be what it is. Final thoughts on Naked Lunch, Richard?
Well, I can't recommend it.
Fair.
I don't know anyone who I need to point to this movie. Don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's well done. It's a food that is not my favorite food. So eating it was not an unmitigated pleasure, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I also know that, like you said, I'm not sure. I'll use a fun analogy. There are plenty of people that live in the Midwest that don't eat sushi. I'm not going to take them to a sushi restaurant.
There you go.
I'm not going to suggest this to someone who goes, I don't like movies that don't make any sense. Like, well, I got some fun shit to sell you. It's some wild shit. Yeah. I think this movie is not for everybody. I think, to your point, similar to the other movies I covered in April, they're for me, which is fine. I think this is the least approachable of the things I talked about, Midsummer probably being the most approachable. And hey, you could do worse than watching a movie with a North Texas alum, because Peter Weller and I went to the same college, which is wild. Until he went and got his PhD from UCLA. He went to the University of North Texas, which is crazy because I don't even think they mentioned that he went there. So until then, where can people find you, Richard, and the things that you work on with your name on them?
They can find me at Richard Haddam's Paranormal Bookshelf. That's my podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, check it out. It's everything's in the title. If you like any of those things, come on over and check it out.
I'm not sure you would find anything other than your podcast if you searched for your name. So
I know. Well, unless you'd find this if you scroll down. You'll find this.
We'll scroll down a little bit. Not at the top. Yeah. We pay good money for that top of the SEO charts, baby. Similarly, you can find me and the things that I work on at weirdingwaymedia.com, where this show and all the other shows that I work on can be found. Other than Patreon, where Richard and I do a James Bond podcast once a month with our friend Mike White, and we are nearing the end of that podcast. Shockingly, we're like 2/3 of the way done, which is nuts. So we'll be finishing that and wrapping that up. But if you want to hear it from the beginning, patreon.com/Kulturecast, and then or Projection Booth for that matter. Richard, thank you so much for joining me and being a good sport, as it were.
My pleasure, man. I always try to be a good sport.
And as always, we'll catch you on the next episode.